Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Get the Rant podcast with your host, Grim. It's great to have you all back with me again this week. Mike Johnson still hasn't opened the government, still hasn't sworn in the lady from Arizona, so we still do not have the 218 votes to release the Epstein files. Government still shut down. Epstein files have still not been released. But yeah, that's where we are. Let's talk about it. So, to nobody's surprise at all, Mike Johnson is not reopening the government. The Republicans continue to blame the Democrats for the government not being open. And yet they have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the White House. But yet, they refuse to use the nuclear option and open the government back up. Instead, they would rather go on a blame campaign that the Democrats are holding them hostage, supposedly, so that they can give health care to illegal immigrants, which we all know is bullshit. And so we have that happening. But it was really coming down to these Epstein files. It sure looks like this is what is controlling the entire narrative. This is what is controlling the government being shut down, is that they don't want those lists released. They don't want the public to know who's in the files. And so the easy way for them to do that is just not to have the government open and just keep putting it off of swearing in the Democrat from Arizona. That's the game they're playing. But how long can they keep that up for? I can't imagine them running with that for too much longer. Eventually, the government has to be reopened, doesn't it? And now we have air traffic controllers because of the shutdown who are not being paid. And those who are not being paid are now not showing up to work because they are going out and doing, side hustles to make money. They're driving Uber, they're driving Lyft, they're, delivering pizzas, whatever they have to do to pay the bills. And, the administration's response to all of that is, well, we're just going to fire them. They're what they call problem children. It's like, give me a break. I know that's Trump's MO, and he doesn't mind not paying contractors in his own private business. So, he's not worried about not paying these people either because he doesn't care. That's what Trump does. Trump has no problem not paying people for work and for the labor that they do. And he expects these air traffic controllers just to show up. And then the military wasn't being paid. And there was all these news articles coming out and these videos circulating of military members and their families standing in these long-ass fucking lines at food pantries because they didn't have any money. And so now Trump somehow has announced that they're going to be paid. And he told Hegseth to find the money, that they will pay him. But it's typical Donald Trump behavior, right? Create a problem and then let the people suffer for a little bit and then swoop in there and try to solve the problem of his own creation so he can take credit for solving that problem. But he created it. He is the one setting the fires. But then what's credit for putting these fires out? And it's unbelievable to me that his supporters will get behind that. They will see that and they'll be like, oh, Trump, yeah, USA, he cares for our troops. He's making sure that they get paid during this government shutdown. And that's only because he's the one who stopped the payments. The Republican Party are the ones that shut down the government. So they created this problem. But the real reason for the shutdown, it appears to be the Epstein files. It's going to keep coming back to the Epstein files no matter what. Because the names that are in those files have got to be devastating. The things that are in those files have to be devastating because they are going to all ends of the fucking earth to make sure that those files stay, sealed and wrapped away in some government building somewhere. Even though Trump campaigned on releasing the files, all of the Trump supporters, the right-wing podcasters, wanted to see the files. Kash Patel, we're going to make sure the files get out. Dan Bongino, we're going to make sure the files get out. Pam Bondi, now look at them all. It's all a big giant cover-up. But yet Trump still has a stranglehold on the Republican Party, on the base. But there are signs of it cracking and weakening. And the people who are being hurt by all of this are starting to wake up. And I keep telling people, just wait. Because right now, most of the policies that Trump and the Republicans implemented in their big bullshit bill, they don't take effect until the end of the year and until next year. And so that's when Trump is going to start really feeling the pressure from his own base, even more so than what he is starting to now, because that's when the big cuts come from, right? And next month is when the big increases in healthcare premiums start taking hold. So all of these things are going to start spiraling now. And he knows that his supporters, a vast majority of them who are on the lower income scale, they are going to turn on him like rabid dogs. He knows it. And that's why now they're preemptively trying to label everybody who's basically a Democrat or on the left side of Trump as a fucking domestic terrorist, calling everybody on the planet Antifa if you don't agree with the president. It's insane to me to think that this is where the fuck we are in our nation, that we have a president labeling a majority of Americans as domestic terrorists. And they had their little round table meeting the other day. And Pam Bondi and all of them sat around and talking about how they are going to take out these domestic terrorists just like they are taking out the cartel. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Does that mean that the Trump administration is going to start using missile strikes on protest? They're going to start targeting protesters with bombs and weapons and blowing them to smithereens like they did those boats down there? Is that what their plan is? Is that what they are thinking? Because I don't know if that would go over as well as they think it does in their head. You know what I mean? I don't think Americans want to turn on the TV and see other Americans being blown to pieces by a missile assault and their neighborhoods destroyed just so that the Trump administration can own some libs. You know, it's getting ridiculous. The extreme talk that comes out of the White House, the extreme talk that comes out of the diehard MAGA base is just, it's off the charts. And it's incredible that they're getting away with it. And yet they want to spin it as the left is violent and the left are the terrorists. It's the mental gymnastics that these people have to do it's insane. I mean, it really is. One minute you have every MAGA supporter in this whole goddamn country declaring that libs are weak. They're limp-wristed, blue-haired sissies, soy boys, couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. If a war was to ever break out, they wouldn't stand a chance. They'd be gone in 30 seconds. But then in the same fucking sentence, oh, they're hardened criminals, domestic terrorists, killers, and murderers, and come on. And yet MAGA eats this shit up. They can't even see the hypocrisy in what they are saying. It's absolutely fucking absurd. Now, how you were declaring the left as a bunch of liberal snowflakes crying in a corner. They all need their fucking safe place. They don't own fucking guns. They're weak, low testosterone beings, but yet at the same time, they're violent and they're deadly, and all they do is wreak havoc everywhere they go and spread violence and fear, and it's absurd. The levels that they sink to just have something to say, it's crazy. But it seems like that's the whole point of MAGA. It seems like they just talk for the sake of fucking talking. Like, they don't talk to debate. They don't debate to try to learn. They talk for the sake of having something to say. That's it. And, you know, when you analyze the whole Trump phenomenon, the whole Trump administration, it's always negative with this guy. It constantly is. He doesn't see the good in having a diverse opinion. He thinks that most of this country is trash. He can't stand a majority of the population. He said it himself, didn't he? He hates them. He doesn't wish the best for them. So you have a sitting president who doesn't wish the best for most of the entire country. He only cares about himself and his worshipers. They're not even supporters anymore at this point. They're worshipers. Because they will find every excuse in the book to support a man who wants a vast majority of the country gone. You know, and they can't stop to think and have a debate with people on any of these topics. Take immigration and ICE, for example. I don't personally know anybody that's not a Trump supporter who is against deporting people who shouldn't be here. But what MAGA cannot seem to wrap their heads around, it's the how they are going about it. It is the masked agents showing up without warrants, not identifying themselves as law enforcement officers. That is a problem, but they can't see how that's a problem. That anybody can go out, buy one of these stupid vests off Amazon, these face masks off Amazon, and run around and start kidnapping people. They don't see how that's dangerous. They don't understand that people are allowed to have due process. And they can't even tell that they were lied to, because the Trump administration said they were going after the worst of the worst, the violent, hardened criminals. They were going to round them up and get them the fuck out of here. You know, the murderers and the rapists and so on. But yet all we see is videos of these people going to a Home Depot and arresting people who are trying to work, who are showing up at Hispanic restaurants and dragging workers out while they're in middle of their shift, grabbing Walmart workers, grabbing women as they're dropping their children off to school. These are the hardened ones? These are the most violent ones? If that's the case, you guys have a problem. It's not a matter of people disagreeing with immigration and enforcing our immigration laws. It all comes down to on how it is being done. And I see MAGA people all the time in comment sections on my TikTok videos, on my YouTube videos. You guys didn't have a problem when Obama was deporting people and Biden was deporting people. Well, that's just not true. People have such short memories. Don't they remember people protesting Obama? There were protesters at his speeches. So it's not true that people weren't speaking out. But it's the way that the Trump administration goes about these things to try to spread fear, to circumvent our Constitution, circumvent our constitutional rights. I mean, they are rounding up and grabbing United States citizens, U.S. citizens, and MAGA's okay with that. They don't seem to have a problem with Trump wiping his ass with the Constitution and allowing ICE to round up U.S. citizens with no warrant, no anything. Well, that is a real problem, but that's how far gone some of these people are in the MAGA cult. That they don't have issues with things like that. That they don't care about the Constitution. They don't mind Trump being a dictator. It's absolute insanity that is running amok through the whole MAGA movement. And yet there's another instance of their damn hypocrisy right there when it comes to immigration. Because they will tell you with a straight face, oh, Obama or Biden and Obama, they had fucking open borders and they were bringing people in and they just let the floodgates open and here they all come. But in the same fucking breath, they'll say, well, you didn't have a problem with Biden and Obama deporting millions of people. How do you reconcile those two thoughts? So they're either bringing them in or they're deporting record numbers. Which is it? But these Trump supporters can't seem to see the fucking disconnect that is going on. And it's sad to see. But it's all about perception. And that's what they don't understand. It's not that Trump says he's going to close the border and he's going to get rid of all these violent criminals. Nobody cares about that. Everybody's for that. Nobody wants violent murderers and rapists running our streets. But what we do care about is how they are going about it. We do care that these people are not identifying themselves as law enforcement. We do care that they are masked up, refusing to show ID, verifying who they are. I mean, in all honesty, these people could just be kidnapping people off the streets. It could be just a gang of 3 or 4 thugs dressed, cosplaying as ICE agents and just grabbing people off the streets and trafficking them or doing God knows what. That's what the problem is. And that's what the Trump supporters and MAGA is not getting. They are not understanding that. And they are not understanding that it is against the Constitution to be rounding up U.S. citizens without a warrant. They don't understand that. You can't just be arresting people just for whatever. Maybe you can in a dictatorship, in an authoritarian regime, but this is the United States of America, and we don't do that. Well, until now, I guess. But that's the problem. So hopefully, some of these MAGA supporters will start seeing the hypocrisy and how what they say just doesn't make any sense. The cognitive dissonance is real with these people. But we're going to see, because they have a giant protest, the No Kings protest, on the 18th of October. And it'll be very interesting to see how the Trump administration handles this protest. I think that this is going to tell us a lot about what's coming moving forward. Anyways, this is Grim with Get the Rant. I appreciate all of you guys listening and tuning in. Make sure to check me out on TikTok, YouTube, and at gettherant.com. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so on the website. Appreciate you all, and I will be back again in the next episode, and we'll discuss some more craziness that's sure to happen and sure to come out over the next couple of days.